All right, where are we going to go today?
I want to do something more tactical this episode. I feel like the last episode was amazing. It was super themed around the whole landscape, social media, all of the branding and stuff like that. Now we want to give more tactical tips on how to take advantage of that landscape that we talked about last week. I run an agency, you run a coaching program. We pretty much have all the insight. We cover all the bases, and we probably see a lot on the day-to-day that most people don't see.
So we're going to just throw out many ideas. And just disclaimer, I would not implement everything we say. Take what's useful, discard what's not. But if there's anything that you're like, oh, that's a 5-minute tip that I can implement now that can make me more money, why wouldn't you? But not everything.
You know what's actually a good tip for this podcast would be the same tip that I got from Brian Mancato when he goes to a lot of big mastermind events, the Sam Ovens events, Jeremy Haynes, Cole Gordon, etc. And he would go like on day 1 or day 2, and he would get a big golden nugget, and he wouldn't even go to the last day of the event. He would spend that last day of the event implementing the nugget that he got from that first day. I'm like, I feel like that's how you can listen to this podcast. You listen until you get a really big nugget that solves one of your pain points, and then you just click off. I know it's bad for it's bad for
yeah, it's not bad for retention. Sorry, quit.
But click off, go implement it, and then come back. I feel like that'd be better then, because we're going to have nuggets that are going to be good for some people and then not great for others, but then other people will probably get some more insight for something else.
Let's roll. So real quick, for people who are just discovering this one, how much do you make a month with your client and your agency?
My agency does $65K a month. My clients do about $250K a month. So that's the discrepancy. So if you ever want to make a lot of money in an agency, just make your clients 5 times more.
Yeah. To guys, this no, it's not. It's a Lexi Cash program. Now does around 7 figures from mostly Twitter organic. We've never run ads until now, but we can get into how we're running ads. It's actually quite fun. And our clients make, well, a few $100,000 a month. I haven't measured it, but let's kick it off. What you got?
Yeah, I want to go into like the math side of it. I was thinking a lot about this. I'm like, it's always so easy when you say like social media is math or like business is math. It's very easy to do outputs and inputs. In terms of quantity, numbers of DMs, numbers of calls, numbers of tweets, etc., right? But it's kind of hard to measure quality. And I feel like nobody has anything that talks about measuring quality. And when I say quality, I'm like, how many profile visits did you get? How many inbound leads did you get from that tweet? How many followers did you gain from that tweet? What was the engagement rate percentage? Why was that tweet successful in any of those metrics, right? How many lines was the tweet? What was the tweet about?
There's right, because when you're like, this tweet did well, why did it do well? Like, what are you measuring it by?
Right, and it's a harder question to answer, which is why not as many people talk about it, is the why aspect to it. And we found some good ways to track those things in terms of quality, because the quantity, like I said, it's easy. It's just how many DMs did you send? How many replies did you get? And then you tweak it, and it's very simple. But in terms of quality, you can do the same thing if you break it down into content pillars, and if you break it down into the way that you write that content, right? So if you have, let's say you have the 5 content pillars, which I've talked about in the past. Let's just take one, right? Let's just take like social proof, like a case study.
Maybe it'd be better if you like go over what the 5 are, like real quick, and then you can keep going to one.
Right. So these are my 5 tentative that I'm going to continue.
And why are they important?
Right. So these are the 5 content pillars, in my opinion, that cover everything for a personal brand on X. So that's going to be, and let's see if I have it memorized still, expertise. So your expertise, your niche, whatever. Social proof, case studies, etc., testimonials, whatever. Trending. So whatever's trending in your industry. So as you saw last week, what did me and JK talk about? X, because it was trending in industry, right? Obviously, we're going to take advantage of that organic SEO in our content. Opinions. Opinions is a big one. What is your unique perspective? What do you think about your industry? What sets you apart, right? What makes you different on everything? And what's your viewpoint that people can get behind? And then the last one is personal. So your story, your life, the behind the scenes, that stuff matters, right? You have to be human, especially in this day and age when AI is starting to take over. You really have to be you really have to have personal stuff, because if you haven't seen, if you look on the timeline, it's just stuffed with people talking about things without offering A, their opinion, or B, the personal aspect to it, how it affects them or how it's affecting their life. And that's what kind of kills a brand, and that's how you build a following without any substance. So those are the 5 content pillars. right now tentatively. And I think the reason that it's those 5 is because it covers everything. I don't think I think you could argue that memes is a content pillar, but I'll consider that for now under the personal side. So let's just say case studies, right? And you post a case study and it's a case study thread, and that thread has 10 tweets in it and the hook is 3 lines. And now you split test that exact case study against another version of the case study with 5 lines in the hook with 15 tweets, and there's pictures in every tweet, right? With examples, or videos in every tweet with examples, right? You can now split test the quality of those, but not just how many likes did it get, because that's the problem. People think likes equals cash. They don't. That's why you listen to this podcast. So
That's right.
How many profile visits did you get? That's important. How many comments did you get? That's important. How many inbound leads did you get? Because if you're doing a case study thread, you have to have a call to action in there, right? DM me if you're this person. How many inbound leads did you get, right? So you might find that the one with the videos might get a ton more engagement, but not as many DMs. And you might find that the one that was short and sweet with no videos and no pictures gets no engagement, but you got 3 times as many DMs, right? So you can measure the quality of those against each other. And you can do this within every content pillar, within every type of content. You can do all 5 content pillars. You can do threads, you can do tweets, you could do long form posts, you can do videos, you can do all of that just in each content pillar, right? So
quick question on that, because I'm the type of person sometimes that I'm like, I understand the importance of split testing, and I know it's key to track everything, but I'm not gonna fucking do it. It's too much work. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just create more. And that's been my approach. Let's just do more, and something will happen. How do you track these things? I mean, how can someone who's like, oh, JK, I felt that because I don't track anything, how can they kind of take advantage of that?
Well, it's two parts to that question, right? Number one is the reason that you opt for more is because more is easier than better. And if I had to say you had to pick one or the other, I would say do more. But if you want to be the best, you have to do more and better. And that's where you get the anomalies like the Mr. Beast, right? He does the more and the better, right? He's the guy that's split testing 100 thumbnails against each other, and he's spending the most money on videos. And he has the most frequency because he has 20 channels, right? Like, that's how he ascends, right? So, a couple ways that you can get past this, right? One, you can hire an agency like me who's going to do more and better, right? Or you can do a VA like I also have, right? I have an executive assistant so what I'll do is I'll go and find the tweets that I want to split test, and I'll have her actually break it down by word count, line count, everything for me in a spreadsheet. And then all I have to do is look at it, right? That's easy.
What are just that idea for you? No. Really? I don't track any of this shit.
Well, because what you taught me is that the power of having an assistant putting things in a spreadsheet, like the audience questions, which if you get any nugget from this, I've been doing this for the past 4 months, and it's made my content 10 times faster to create. I have my assistant go into my Read AI, which is the thing that tracks all my calls, go into the key questions part and just copy and paste all of my key questions into a spreadsheet, as well as questions I'm asked in Slack and Twitter, et cetera, and DMs. And they're all in a spreadsheet. So each week I can just answer those questions in the forms of tweets.
When I onboard a new client, I like that you said that, because I asked them, why did you join? Around 20% of people say, because I felt like you were speaking to me. Like, I felt like you understood the problem. And that's big, in my opinion, because once you understand the problem, I feel like the more you understand the problem, the more you can get away with not having that strong of an offer. Because then your offer doesn't become, I'm going to create a lot of pluses. I'm just going to remove this one big negative that I already proved to you with my content that I understand. So when you collect these questions, I also do that. My assistant goes over my questions that I get on the comments, wherever, and I tell her, get the comments that people who are in my niche, because if they're not in your niche, you don't need them. Or your target market, doesn't matter. Get the people who are in my niche that are not trying to form my account for engagement, like the legit questions, get those. And that becomes the content. So I don't really ideate a lot. Like, she's the one that gives me the ideas, and I kind of riff off it. Is that what you do?
Yeah, totally. And just back on what you said with, not everyone has the time or wherewithal to do it. Then it's the same as like when you're building a business. And I learned this from Ryan, right? You do high leverage, high ROI tasks. So what's the highest leverage, highest ROI split test or content tracking that you can do, right? So if it's just how many inbound leads can you get, you can now split just inbound leads on just case study threads or just personal threads. Like that's pretty low. If you can't even do that, then you might just be lazy, right? So it's just like, if you just do it, once a week or twice a week and just track them against each other, then that's a low barrier way to do it. And you're tracking the highest ROI task, which is inbound leads. You don't have to track profile visits and everything like that unless you're me, but that's a low barrier way to do it because inbound leads is directly into cash. So that's pretty high ROI. So that would be my advice to someone who doesn't have as much time to do it.
And a caveat to this one, if you're listening and you're starting out, you're like, oh, that's a lot. It's like, yes, it's a lot. And I'd say it is something that's more of a $30K a month problem, personally. It's something you do once you've already got the clients and you've already got the leverage and you have money to spend on an assistant, on a team. If you're below that, I would say just do more and a little bit more after that. Like an example I'll give for this is fitness. So I've been trying to cut weight for a long time. And something that stressed me out for the longest time was tracking calories. It's so annoying. I hate it. It's like, oh, this day I had ketchup and sauce. So I said, how can I still lose weight, still kind of enjoy my diet and not track the calories? And I kind of arrived to more of an extreme answer, which was instead of tracking little increments, what is the one big activity I can do every week that will allow me to make those little things irrelevant? So for me personally, what I do is I don't eat on Mondays. Mondays are just not eating days. And I just, do my thing. I do all my calls because when you're doing calls, you don't really think about that. So then because I had so much action in that day or so much not eating and so much calorie budget in that day, along the week, I can just put ketchup on my stuff. Maybe I can have a drink, right? So it doesn't matter because I did a lot. I call this, you can track or you can chat it. You can track it or you can chat it. So I'm like, in the beginning, I'd rather just chat it, just do more of what's required. These are 30K a month problems. In the beginning, just do more. I think that's enough.
Yeah, and I like the sales page that you did with the car wheels, because I do think from 3 or 0 to 30K, 20 to 30K, a lot of times it's just like there's just one big problem that's holding them back from that. I've even seen it with clients where it's like the only thing holding them back is just it's just a closing problem, or it's just an outbound DM frequency problem, right? It could be like one problem that gets you to 30K a month. Whereas above 30K, 50K, even 100K a month, it becomes very much, it could be quality, it could be like multiple problems, different bottlenecks. But yeah, 0 to 30K, to do more and sometimes even to do better. Because like sometimes you could just, if you book 10 calls a week and you can't close one, then you probably just need to be better at sales, right? So it's like
This is a good transition to my tip. We can do this. I'll do one, you do one, and then we can go like that. I think it's fun.
Let's hear
So
first.
one tip, one thing I believe everybody would benefit a lot is coming up with analogies that allow you to address objections. Analogies that allow you to address objections. So I'll tell you one objection that we get often. It's outbound DMs hurts the brand. If I do DMs, I'm going to hurt my brand. That's common. So I thought, what is one way I can break this belief so that they wouldn't have it? And if I said it, it just didn't have power. But once I came up with an analogy, people understood it. So the way I thought about this, it's, let's say you need milk. So you go to Walmart. Like, have you ever gone to Walmart, Marcos, and you're like, that the clerks know exactly where what you want is, but you instead spend and waste 10 minutes of your life wandering instead of simply, asking them where the milk is? Like, I do that all the time. I don't know if you do that.
My girlfriend wants to kill me every time I do it. She's like, just ask. I'm like, no.
I think it's from the Russians. Yeah. No, man. I can't do it, baby. I got to figure it out.
I must figure out the problem.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I do that all the time. Well, sometimes in restaurants, right? So if I order pasta and I want to eat pasta, but that night they bring me steak, I'm like, I'm not going to change it because I'm shy. I'm just going to be like, well, fuck it. I'm eating steak tonight. Like, that's just how it is. Right? But back to the Walmart example. Like, let's say if the clerk didn't approach you, you were going to waste minutes of your time. Whereas if they approach you and you're like, hey, can I help you with anything? That's like 100% chance that you're going to ask, oh, yeah, actually, where's the milk? Did you think of the clerk as lazy? No. Did you think less of the Walmart bread because he approached you? No. So why would outbound DMs to people who already follow you be any different? You're better than all of your followers at something. They follow you for a reason. So why not ask, do you want help? Because some people are just too afraid to ask. I find that when I tell this story, right? When I tell that, people go, oh, that makes sense, right? There's another one I have right here on the document, but let's see. Yeah, Jordan Pippen. So for example, I say that we get very caught up in, what do I do? Sometimes you're like, I'm in the wrong business model and you want to change stuff and you're so stressed and you want to try different offer suites and ways to get clients. Whereas I believe that there's only two things you can tweak. And it's either tweak the Jordan of your business or you tweak the Pippen of your business. How does that work? Pippen is the playmaker. He creates the thing. So he will pass you the ball, he'll alley-oop. That's content. That's you creating possibilities for scoring, but it's not scoring itself. Whereas Jordan is the one who scores. It's the DMs, right? So when you look at that, when you look at your game, and it's like, I want to score right now. What am I missing? Am I missing plays in which content, you can create more content, make more videos, something that will make people like it and be like, I'm interested in this? Or you can take the Jordan thing, which is, I already have the content. I already have a lot of people engaging with it. I can just, send more DMs and score more because the play is already created. So when I show that image, people go, oh, I'm missing here, I'm missing there. That's another analogy that's really useful because you can only tweak two things. It also works with cold and hot water. So you're in the shower and you want the temperature you want. Well, there's only two things to tweak. You either make it colder or you make it hotter. Like that's all you can do, right? So it's like, which of the two levers are you missing? And if you focus on that, that kind of helps me take clients' attention and focusing on the right things. That's another one. And the third one, to bring it full circle to what you said about the car, I feel like in a coaching business, in order to get to 30K a month, there's only four things you can focus on. It's either, get more followers so you can message more people. You get lead flow up so you get them on the calls. You get more buyers, which is working your offer on the calls, and more repeat buyers, people who stay. And I used to have these four mechanisms. I could never make it three. And the coaching program I'm in, they told me, make it three because it's easier to remember. But I just couldn't. I just no, all four are important. So I thought about, what if we show it as a car? So I say car, it has four tires in which each is followers, leads, buyers, and repeat buyers. And what I do on the sales calls, when I made my sales team buy a fucking iPad for this. I want you guys to take the car and paint the wheels. This one is red. This one is green. This one's green. This one's green. So we tell people, this is what you're missing, and this is why your business is not growing because you're not focusing on the bad tire. If you get a flat tire, you're not going to change the good tire. You're going to change the flat one. Change the good tire does nothing. If you have a bunch of followers but no leads, then getting more followers will change nothing. You got to focus on the lead flow. And it allows me to focus the prospect's attention into the actual issue. So I feel like everybody who's kind of struggling right now with making prospects see the value of your offer, or you get too many objections and you're like, you see it and to you it's obvious, but they don't see it. I would say come up with an analogy that allows you to explain it, and that will kind of position the prospect in the same perspective as you, and you will be able to close more deals because you explained it in a way that's coherent and makes sense to them. So analogies is huge in my business, and I do it all the time. And I think everybody could benefit from that.
Yeah, I think it's one of the first things I learned when I started my business was the analogy that you popularized with, it was getting people followers, and it was the objection that, what if you don't get my target audience? And the way to handle that objection was building an audience is like sifting through gold. You get a bunch of sand and you have the little sift and you have to sift. You get a ton of sand first, so a ton of followers, and you sift through the gold and you find the ones that are going to be interested in your offer, et cetera, right? That was a great objection handle back in the day. Now my objection handle, I get an objection all the time, is people, because, naturally as I go up the ladder and target higher and higher individuals, they're more cautious with their brand. A lot of people we target already have a following of tens or hundreds of thousands. So it's like they don't want to relinquish that connection with their audience. And so one of the objections, and this was actually more of an epiphany that I had when I read Shoe Dog, is that some of my favorite books, some of my favorite music, and you could argue even movies, right, are all written by ghostwriters, right? So Shoe Dog by Phil Knight was written by a ghostwriter, and it's the best memoir I've ever read. Some of the best songs that Justin Bieber or Drake have sung or rapped have been written by Pharrell Williams or Sia. And then, even movies, right? They're not writing their own scripts half the time. The main character, right? You see Oppenheimer. It wasn't written by Cillian Murphy, right? But Cillian Murphy is the face of that line. So,
and I think Whitney Houston, like, what's the "And I Will Always Love You"? That's not hers, I think.
Correct. And then, you look at Mr. Beast, right? Like, you think he's writing every script. He has a full team behind him writing all of those scripts. He's just the one saying it. So that was kind of my epiphany. And I'm like, if all of these amazing pieces of art can be put out with ghostwriters, so can Twitter, so can X, so can every other platform, LinkedIn. It just needs to be done correctly in a tasteful way that actually resonates with that person and that person's audience and that person's personality, which is a skill in and of itself, right? Some of these ghostwriters are extremely, extremely talented. So that was kind of an epiphany for me.
And that's Jack and Ham.
Yeah, I mean, like, what are they going to argue with? They're going to argue with Drake, Mr. Beast, Cillian Murphy, and Phil Knight. You can't argue with that, right? So
yeah, it's like, oh, I didn't like Shoe Dog. Oh, but Nike, right?
Yeah,
that's point.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's good. I like that analogy. Is there any other interesting analogy you tell in your business?
I couldn't think of another one off the top of my head, but when you said the Jordan and Pippen one, it kind of sparked one for me, in a different way. So, all of our clients are, big, successful people. They're essentially the Jordans of the world. But Michael Jordan, if you don't know anything about basketball, Michael Jordan has 6 championships, right? He went 6-0 in finals. For the first 8 years of Michael Jordan's career, he never made the NBA Finals. 0 times. Until Scottie Pippen joined the Chicago Bulls. Then Michael Jordan went on and won 6 finals. So even Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, to some, I'm a LeBron guy, could not win an NBA Finals without a Scottie Pippen. So you might need a Scottie Pippen to push you over the edge to be that champion. So hire my agency.
I dig it. The analogies are powerful. Like, when you were telling that story, and before you were like, "Yo, hire me," I was like, "Oh my God, where's he going with?" I was like so into the story. I was like, "What's he gonna say?" All right. What else you got? It's your turn for the tip.
That was really good. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I like the analogies. So you said, I actually wanted to, it's my segment, but I'm going to ask you, what did you mean by affiliate?
Dude, affiliate, I just had a call today in which it's a growth program. You know how I feel about those. But I realized I could either even shit on them, or I could use them in a way that adds value to them and adds value to me. So I feel like the way people do affiliate, it's kind of messed up. And I feel like there is a way in which you can make a lot of money with it. Even when I say affiliate, it feels kind of weird. It's like, yeah, affiliate marketing, bro. But here's how I do it. I would say affiliates are really powerful if you can make them refer you deals in a way that's really easy to them. So, for example, what do most people do? They go, "Hey man, here's my affiliate link. If anybody shows interest in my program, can you just send it to them?" What will they say? Of course. And what will they do? Nothing. So what do you do instead? I have kind of this framework that I use to how to find affiliates to send you deals and actually follow through. And it's an acronym. It's GIMP. So GIMP, which is gap, incentivize, make it easy, and know your boundaries. So gap, incentivize, make it easy, and boundaries. How does that work? So for example, me looking at this growth program, I wanted to identify first a gap. They're a growth program, which means that maybe they don't have the monetization angle nailed down. Maybe they were missing on how to create an offer. So I reached out to the owner. I said, "This is what I run. This is how much my clients are making. This is what I can do for you. I can fill in that gap for your program. And you can use me as a selling point, knowing that when people tell you, oh, but this is a growth program, it doesn't include any offers. you can use me as a way to address that objection. So I use that as, here's the gap that we're establishing. Second, incentivize. I'm going to pay them a referral fee for every person that joins. That's kind of normal, but you will also make your product more valuable because I'm filling in a gap that you didn't feel before, and you don't have to do anything about it, which is the third step, making it easy. There, I said, dude, you do nothing. Just tell me what time and what day can I speak for an hour. I send you the Zoom link. I'll do the integrations. I'll do the emails. I'll create the PowerPoint, whatever. I'll make it easy for you. Just tell me what time and tell people that I'm going to be live at this. You make it easy for them, make it natural. And then you just pitch your thing, right? Because you're filling in a gap. You incentivize them to have you on and tap into their traffic, and you make it easy for them because you're actually adding value and you're like, I'm going to do everything, you do nothing. And the last one is knowing your boundaries, not hard pitching. If you get one call, and you got to make that call good. Don't try to sell people on it. Don't try to hard pitch people on it, because then you devalue the value of their program. It's not your brand that's suffering. It's also their brand. So I did this today. I went to a growth program and I identified a gap. I incentivized them with money. I made it easy for them to have me on. And in the end, I said, if you want more help, you can just go here. And I sent the link and I set up the boundaries. These guys said, this call that JK had in this program was valuable. Thank you for bringing him on, which means that I made money and he added to the value of his program. That is how you do affiliates. Marcos did that too. So he identified a gap, which was, I'm involved in my program, but like sometimes I'm like, I don't know much about what Marcos knows, which is like a specialist, is like lead gen, right? So he identified that gap. He incentivized us by saying, hey, it's going to be free. I'm going to push for free. So yeah, fuck it, why not, right? So, and then he made it easy because he was already in the Slack and he never stepped any boundaries. So it was just a natural transition. It was just a good affiliate deal. And I feel like if you could find ways, let's say you are a vegan fitness coach, right? You said, hey, you got people in your program, but maybe some people are interested in knowing about like the vegan stuff, right? Because it's a rising trend. What if I just go into your program and I talk about that? You do nothing. And whenever somebody tells you the objection of, oh, but I'm vegan, like, do you have something that worked for me? And then you can address that because you have me on the table. And then it makes so much more sense that you two can affiliate well. It's not just saying, hey, can you promote my link? It's finding ways that you can collaborate by GIMP, gap incentivizing, making it easy, and establishing boundaries. So that's how I do affiliate deals, and it turned out pretty well. It was nice.
I think those guests, like the affiliate deals aside, I think the guest speaking things are extremely valuable for coaches, especially ones who run communities, coaching, group coaching. It just, you must know this, it increases retention like crazy. Like that was it Laura who came in and did that LinkedIn masterclass in Tweets and Clients? Like that was so valuable. It adds so much value to Tweets and Clients outside of what already exists, which is, the coaching calls and the course section. But those monthly or bi-weekly master classes that are people that are coming from outside, you're leveraging your network and your goodwill. Maybe you do a swap, right? Maybe you do something, maybe you just exchange value, but they come in and they do guest speeches. That really builds the retention in the community. I have a lot of clients that have community group coaching programs, right? And I think those guest speeches are amazing. I've done one in Dakota's Growth Ghosts. You had Laura do the LinkedIn masterclass in your thing. I've seen Client Ascension. I've had guys do like sales coaching, right? Like those are great. And I think those are underrated. And I think, as this space continues to evolve, I think those are going to be really important. And I think it's, a testament to both networking and the affiliates idea as well.
Yeah, and the way we kind of got these people, and I can't speak to Client Ascension or Dakota, but what we said was, come in and speak. There's this many people making this much money, and we'll keep this in the portal, so that will be evergreen connections and evergreen sales for you. So we pitched it like that. Not, hey, do you want to come and make a Zoom call? You know what I mean? There's gotta be something. I don't know if I can announce it yet because I don't think he allowed me to. But there's one big LinkedIn influencer, the big LinkedIn influencer. I'm really pumped for that. We're gonna make a guest. We're gonna do kind of a Jordan Pippen thing. He's gonna be Jordan, like Pippen, showing you how to create plays. I'm gonna be the one showing you how to monetize the thing. We're gonna do a growth event or joint event in September. And the way I said that was, you do nothing. I set up all the integrations. We split the email subs in half. That is also a really good way to create email subs and have people opt in, and you add value to them as well. It's just a fun one because people, and by the way, people are more likely to consume events than they are to consume recordings. People want to show up to the thing. People want to come and like engage with you. And it's the same thing. They could watch a recording anyway, but if you can make it not a recording, but an event in which people show up, people actually show up way more and they consume and value your stuff way more.
Yeah, I think that's probably why webinars work so well. Like Blake Rocha does those webinars, and I think that's a case for the webinars versus the VSLs. Is instead of having just an evergreen VSL, having like weekly or bi-weekly webinars that people feel obligated to show up to because they feel like they're missing something, right? Even if it's the same webinar every 2 weeks, as long as it's live, they could be missing something, right? It's genuine FOMO. That's a case for the webinars, and it's true because people feel like the weekly coaching calls are always there for them, right? But they might feel like the person that's guest speaking once won't always be there for them, and they want to ask their live question or something like that, or they just want to get the information and implement it really fast. So I think they're really.
I want to ask you something about your team. You have a really strong connection with your team. They're proud to rock your logo. They're really happy to be your agency. How I could never do that with my own agency. I just struggle with that. But how do you, and is there some actionable and tactical things people can take from, how do you create this culture that people are like, yeah, I love being part of this person's agency? Because I feel like when you have someone who's just like actually working for you in your team, that's a way stronger incentive than just pay. So
yeah,
how do you do that?
I think the first thing that I do is I don't say my agency. It's our agency. Our mission, our goals, our clients. If I ever say I try to correct myself because it's not just my agency. I don't do all the work in the agency, right? It's a team effort. I might be leading the team, but I don't consider it my agency. So when people say, oh, you're making this much or your agency does this, I'm just like, it's like, I cringe a little, you know what I mean? Even in our team meeting, I say our this, we this.
Let me guess. You also say they don't work for you; they work with
you. Exactly, with. I do say that. It's just cringe. I don't know. Like, maybe coming from the military, I've kind of got really fond for the whole team effort thing. And in the military, right? Like, whoever's above you, there's someone above them. So you know what I mean? Like, there's always someone above them in the military. Like, even if it's your commander, like, they're reporting to someone who is also reporting until you get to the president, who's also low-key reporting to someone. So it's just like, I kind of got it from that, but it was just, yeah, that's number one. And then number two is having missions outside of just money. Like, I've seen other cultures that have done it well, incentivizing everything through money, but I feel like that's a means to an end. Money loses value very fast, right? So like, at every level, even if you're at like 3 or 4K a month, if your living expenses are 2K a month, like, and you're just saving 2K a month, the money becomes really like, you kind of lose motivation. You just want to live your life, right? So you can't just incentivize people with money forever unless you get a team of just like all people who want to be millionaires, but then your churn's really high because all they care about is money. So there's always a double-edged sword there. So for us, you know, I always built it more as a lifestyle incentive. So for them, like, I don't give them deadlines or anything like that outside of like the weekly deadline. Everything is just, you can just get it done when you get it done, as long as it's done by the end of the week. So the lifestyle that they have is the opposite of a 9 to 5. It's, you can do it all on Monday for all I care. Is it done by the end of the week, and is the quality good? That's important. So I do internal feedback, and one of the internal feedbacks we got was, I love that it's not a traditional 9 to 5. I love that I can just do nothing for a day if I want, and I love that I can just grind for a day if I want.
What if the quality isn't good though? What do you do?
Sorry?
What if the quality isn't good?
The quality isn't good.
What if they mess up?
If they mess up, like they do something that's clearly just bad, like typos, right? Like, I hate typos, and that's a big one for me, and I've had that problem. I literally like, I don't say anything, like there's no punishment, right? I'm just like, we can't have typos. So I built a checklist, right? And the checklist is going to say, did you double check proofread for typos? And then I also have reminders set, like, boom, I just implement 2 or 3 things that's going to go against that problem. If they then still have typos, they have no excuse. I don't really like say like, strike 1 or strike 2, but it's very, I'm not like very friendly when it comes to things like that. I'm very on or off when it comes to seriousness and friendly. So I'm friendly like 90% of the time, but if there's a typo, there's a typo. That's a problem, right? Other than like typos and stuff, when it comes to like quality of like, oh, is this thread good? I mean, we built their writing from the ground up, right? Like we all write the same now. So if it's not good, in my opinion, I do editing every week. I'm still the chief editor at my agency. So it's like I'm editing all of the content, and I'll record looms, and we'll have docs of before and afters. So I don't really look at the quality of the actual content, but things like typos or deadlines, that's a big deal to me. So I'm very hardo when it comes to those things.
I have a question when it comes to quality, and I don't think he's gonna mind this. So I'm in subscriber for Andrew Wilkinson's Twitter subscribers. Patty Galloway, who's one of the guys that helped Mr. Beast, is one of them. He asked a question that I thought this question is really good, and I have no idea how to answer it, which is, he's a creative mind. He is really good at just coming up with ideas wherever, right? And it is creative work. You do creative work, and other coaches might do creative work. But when you hire someone to do creative work, it's hard because they don't see what you see. They don't have the experiences you have. So how do you balance that? As in, do you hire? Do you do it all? What do you do?
Yeah. So Jeremy Moser gave me this idea, and it was this was kind of a shift for me. For one, I've relinquished the creative hat a while ago. I've also had the same team since almost inception, right? So I haven't never had to fire a team member. Maybe I got lucky in my hiring, but essentially they came in as raw, just writers with bare bones skills. Like they know how to write a thread. They understand what Twitter is, right? They use the Twitter sphere. But building them from the ground up, I think, was important, rather than trying to get people that are successful Twitter writers and then bringing them on, right? Very much from the ground up, and their pay has reflected that and increased month over month as they get better. Another one is just communicating. Instead of how I do things, you try to communicate how I think through things. So when I'm writing or when I'm editing, what is my thought process to the edit, right? Why am I cutting these words? Am I trying to sound more direct? Am I trying to sound more authoritative? Why did I cut this? Why did I cut that adjective? Why did I add this picture? Why did I do that? That's more important than just doing it and trying to have them mirror what you're doing. Because if they're just trying to mirror what you're doing every time, it's going to get stale and repetitive. But if they understand why you did it, then they can then reapply that in a creative way themselves. So the creative hat has been, I feel like it's been I think it's been passed off pretty well. I still give my ideas very often. Like I have this idea for a thread hook, I had this idea for a hook, this idea. And also the clients play a part in that too, which is a big thing in our space is, we have a very collaborative approach with our clients. So the clients have ideas every week as well. So between me, the clients, and the writers, it's a big collaborative process, rather than just, hey, writer, come up with everything and figure it out, and I'm going to edit it. Like that's not really how it goes.
You pointed out a mistake I had when I had my own agency, which is you hire once and then you forget. Maybe if they're like top dog, but it's like, at the beginning you can't afford that. So it's like you gotta look into ways to do that. And I thought that every time I recorded feedback for them, unlike you, that was a failure in my system. That was my lens. But for you, the way, maybe I'm getting it wrong, but the way I get it is that's the system. It's a continuous feedback loop. For me, every time I gave them feedback, that was a failure. That was their failure. And I was really harsh. But you're like, no, this is a process and you gotta walk through. And
yeah, so it's just NFT God says this, and I know his name's NFT God, but he's a big Twitter guy. He says 1% better every day. That's important. I would say in quarter 2, we changed our client expectations a lot. I used to just say in the first 30 days, we're going to try and get you to like X revenue, right? Now I kind of set it out as more of a roadmap, 90-day roadmap. First we're trying to find angles that are going to hit. We're still going to get buyers, but we really want to find the angles that are going to hit. And then we want to double down on those angles in the second 60 days and start to ramp up your numbers and increase the frequency on the angles that we discovered in the first 30 days. And then in that last 30 days, when it gets 60 to 90 days, we're going to try to scale on all of that and hit maybe 100K added a month. So it's more of a 90-day roadmap and beyond. So it really is trying to get better, a little bit better each time, a little bit more personal, a little bit deeper. You can't get so deep on a client in the first day or the first week, right? You slowly get deeper and deeper into the client's soul and get what they truly believe. And you slowly get deeper into your messaging and you find the angles that are going to hit with the audiences. You have to balance it, right? You have to balance the client personality and audience, what they want, right? So if you can balance what the audience wants and what the client wants, then you can kind of have a sweet spot where you get results.
I like that you clarified. You're going to get deep into the client soul.
Oh,
So I was like, whoa, this guy just, taking intimacy to a whole new level. That's what we in the business called onboarding processes. I was like, whoa, all right, cool. Two things that you said that I thought was really good. Number one that I want to point out is the roadmap. I think that's overlooked a lot. When we pitch, because you don't want to pitch just 1 month programs. You want to pitch 3 months, 6 months, 12 month programs where people actually stay. That's repeat buyers, part of the equation. You don't want to, the way you word it is very important. People are not afraid of paying, they're afraid of committing. Let's say it's 3 months. You don't want to say, hey, it's a 3-month contract. That's scary. Contract is a bad word. You don't say contract. You say, on day 0 to 7, we're going to focus on this. 7 to 30, we're going to focus on this. And 30 to 90, we're going to focus to a point in which a day 90 you won't. So in that sense, it's like they're not, I mean, they're paying, yeah, but it's not that hard of a commitment. It's like marriage. It's like kind of scary to like split half your cash and your life and spending a lot of time with people. But it's like, you got to massage it a little bit, Same here with this. So the way we do it, it's 0 to 7. You can do that for your own thing if you're listening to this. We're like 0 to 7, we're going to set up the foundation. 0 to 7 days. 7 to 30 days, we're going to focus on getting you quick wins so you can see the traction and see that this actually works. And then you frame it as, hey, it's a quick win. And then 30 to 90, we're going to set up whatever system I have for you so that at the end you won't need. At the end of day 90, and this is how we frame up the second sale, at the end of day 90, you're going to have everything you need to do it on your own. And then at that point, you're going to have a choice. You can either continue with us if you want to take it to bigger outcome, or you can just say, I'm good, guys. I think I got it. I want to go on mine. That eases off the pressure so much. It's like you're letting the ball coach, and then it's not committing anymore. So the way you frame program length matters a lot on the call. Make sure it doesn't seem like scary. People I'm not afraid of paying, they're afraid of committing. That's one. 2 is when you mentioned the Loom video, when you said, show them what you would do. And I'd say this is a really good example for clients as well. Have you ever, you've had this on the call. You've explained something, and to you it makes complete sense because you've earned that knowledge, but you can see that the client didn't get it. You explain something, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. And you can see that it made no fucking sense, but they don't want to continue the conversation because they're a little bit shy. That happens. Yeah. So what I do is I ask them specifics, and then I would show them what I would do in that situation for you. What makes sense? You got to create a good hook. And these hooks are the best for now. It's hook A, hook B, hook C. Usually I would like to take it one step further. So I would ask them, what do you do? Oh, I do nutrition coaching, whatever. Okay, so if we were to base it in hook A, this is what I would do. Like, are you, have you been told these lies? Meat is bad for you, eggs raise your cholesterol, and intermittent fasting is going to fuck up your gastric, whatever, right? Here's why these why these are false and what you should actually do instead, depending on your situation. When they see you doing the thing for them and you applying it to them, it makes so much more sense. You can see their eyes light up. And that is just a huge change that I apply in my coaching. I don't give you like the high-end concepts. I may start with that, or actually I may end with that. I start with what I would do in your case, and then I end with this is why it works with the high end. And when I position it that way, people pay so much more attention than if I just give them the highway right off the bat. I gotta relate it to them back. So that's just one thing. If you're coaching and you feel like people are not getting your stuff, try to do it for them. Personalize it for them. You'd be amazed at what could happen.
Yeah. I think a roadmap is pretty much what can separate, 0 retention from, 80% retention. It's just people, you have to have a North Star for someone to get to. As soon as someone sees no future with you, it's over, right? It's, I think it's important. And, even if you can customize that roadmap or you make it analogous to them, I think it's good in the sales, but it could be good in the sales process. It's good in the retention process. It's good throughout. It also helps people get better results in your program, especially like tweets and clients, right? It's like, where are they on their journey? Like, if they just do the checklist every day, they have no idea where they are, right? They don't know where they are unless they just look at their revenue. But if you have a roadmap for them, for goals for everything, how many followers did they get? How many sales did they get? What's their revenue, et cetera? How many students? You can kind of get them along that roadmap, and you can make a new roadmap every 90 days, right? There's always a new place to go. I think it's important.
You want to talk?
Go ahead.
Do you want to talk about onboarding? When somebody gives you money, what's your process? And maybe I can go over my own. So to get people to you don't want them to cool off. People give you money, you want to keep them hot.
Yeah, we've really upgraded our onboarding process over the last few months. So our onboarding process, once you pay, and I don't really push hard on sales. It's like, I'll send you the contract and the invoice, take care of it when you're ready. Like, I don't push. Part of that is because I don't work with beginners who sometimes they need that push to impulse buy. But for me, it's like, I don't want to work with someone who's going to ghost an invoice. So I don't push on the call. I think B2C, you should. That being said, once they sign the contract, they automatically get emailed, of course, thank you for your business, this, that, and the other, our values, and the next steps. So the next steps, we have an onboarding form. We actually have an onboarding funnel. So it's about 2-ish hours of an investment for the client. So they have to spend about 1 to 2 hours completing all of our onboarding documents, and that's so that we can get everything related to their IP, their life, their story, everything, personal assets, stuff like that. The form is more technical, the Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, passwords, etc. Percentages, what's your paid in full percentage, what's your revenue, all that good stuff. Do you have a setter? That's more for the form. The form's technical. So after they go through the funnel and the form, they go through a kickoff call. And in the kickoff call, we just verify that everything's good to go. Slack access, Google Drive access, Twitter access, all that good stuff. And then we kind of lay out a roadmap and next steps. When are we launching? Our launch process used to be 48 to 72 hours. Now our launch process is at least a couple weeks before we can launch, so that we can do proper market research and content, et cetera. So in the kickoff call, we lay out that roadmap, make sure everything's set, and then we'll schedule our next calls in which we spend that week or two ideating content, creating initial content, angles, making sure that they have all of the systems in place, setter and sales process, and then we go ahead and launch.
I like one thing that it's you put a lot of the work up front. You make them eat the frog early. I like that, because the moment people give you money, like, listen to this, everybody, like, they're gonna be the hottest right there, and they're only gonna cool down. So if there's big parts of the process that needs to be completed, like you said, the 1 to 2 hours form or training, the more you delay it, you might think that you're helping them because, I don't want to overload them, but you're actually hurting them because you're risking when they get colder and then they're not going to do it. And then it's going to be a bad service and a bad relationship. So if there's huge parts of the thing people need to go through, put it as early as you can. If it's health, right, a blood test, they need to do a blood test, make them do it on day one. Like, find out what things will you need from them and put the toughest one first.
100%, because I've sent this onboarding funnel to current clients who I've worked with for like 3, 6, 8 months. And it's much harder to get them to do it because we already have such a dialed in process. It's very easy to get new clients to do it because it's more of a necessity. But in reality, it's just like you want to get everything you might ever need from the client as early as possible so that you can get the best results. And it does do good for retention, makes you look serious because it is serious. It also, in my specific case, we need to dial in so heavy on what the client's going to sound like that we need that information, right? The more we get, the more we can put out that sounds like them. So it's just impossible without. I can't believe I ran my business for like 9 months without it. At this point, I used to just do an onboarding form and a kickoff call. I can't believe I did that because now I'm just like, it's night and day. But it's so important is you really get the client bought in when you go through a heavy onboarding, whether it's a blood test or it's a 2-hour training or anything like that. You get them bought in there and they learn things about their business from doing your onboarding, which is what I've learned. Like when we're asking things about their clients' problems and stuff like that, they're like, oh, I never really thought of that. So
it's important.
Yeah.
When I signed up for a cold email guy, and I was excited because I thought they were going to do everything, and they did. They do everything after day 1. So in day 2, they did everything from that. Day 1, they sent me this fucking 20-minute Google form, like 30-minute Google form. I'm like, what the hell is this? But if I filled it out. But if they were to wait 1 more week, there's not a chance I would have filled that in. And then the service would be bad. I would hate them. They would hate me. And it's just not going to be good. So everybody can benefit from this. Writing down what are like the key parts of your program. Heaviest ones early. And there's a good book on this, which you don't need to read the entire book, but the main premise of it's the book called Upstream, which is if you want to have a clean river, there's 2 ways you can clean a river. You can either clean it downstream, which is hard and takes a long time, or you can just not pollute it upstream, make sure all the problems are taken care of before the water goes down. What we're talking about here, is upstream, solving the problems upstream so they don't have a time to develop. What I personally do, if it's going to take time commitment from people, you can read this in Atomic Habits too. And, when I go over this, it's like, oh, JK reads a lot. I don't read a lot. These are like, I read like 2 books a year. Like, just not. Anyway, back to the thing. He says that there were 2 groups, and one group was way more likely to accomplish what they needed to do in terms of like physical rehab, like they got some nerd. If the only change they did was they wrote down what time they were going to actually do it. So you, listening to this, maybe if there's a commitment of time that they need to make every week, what I ask people to do is, hey, can you share your screen real quick? Can you like save in your calendar which times are you going to dedicate to this every week and save it? And you cannot allow anything to be booked during that time. Just that activated a red shell. People were starting to actually do the thing just because of that little change. It's about making it hard for them in the beginning so it'll be easy there. I feel like this was important to note.
Yeah, I actually learned it from Lucas, who did my VSL. When he was doing like our onboarding for the VSL, we were just going through so many questions about my target audience. I was like, man, I don't know. Like, I have to think about it. What does my audience want? What is their biggest fear? What is all these things? And I have that document now, which is great for content and market research. But that was kind of a light bulb moment where it's like, you can really, most times your clients or anyone that you're signing probably doesn't even know the answers to half. Like, it's not even really onboarding. It's like a training. It is like they have to actually look inwards and be like, wow, I don't know the answers to these questions. And it makes them feel bad about themselves, because it made me feel bad about myself. I'm like, how do I have this business? I don't even know what my target audience's demographic is, right? Like,
it also made you feel like you needed him, right?
Yeah, it was good. It was good stuff. So I think that's important. It's a good way to cap off your onboarding and increase retention, which is how this all started.
I'll add one sometimes. Like, if you ever have a client that's not sticking to the process and they're not doing the things they committed to do, I have an analogy I always tell, which is when I was with my previous fitness coach, which was Kurt. One time I complained to him foolishly, bro, like, we've been doing this for months. How come I don't have a 6-pack yet? Like, what's going on? And he would tell me, okay, real quick, let's assess what's going on. On a scale of 1 to 10, how hard are you going on nutrition? I'm like a 6 or a 7. How hard are you going on training? I'm like 8 or 9. And then he just said, now imagine if those word attend. I'm like, yeah, I guess discussion over, right? So I guess I'm the one fucking one. So then when I do that with clients, they're stressing out. And I go over the 4 tires, which is why analogies are so valuable. I go over the 4 tires and like, okay, what are you doing here? Is it 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 5 out of 10? And then I wreck them. Now I tell them, what do you think would happen if all of these were a 10? They're like, oh, I know what to do. Sometimes they just need to see it, you know? You don't need, sometimes as a coach, you don't need to say it. You just need to let them arrive to the conclusions themselves. Which is why these analogies, and by the way, what we're talking about here, you and me right now, you got to understand your customer and your process really well to be able to pull off a good onboarding, a good analogy like we just did, a good troubleshooting mechanism if something's not going according to plan. You really need to understand your target market if you want to do these things. But once you do and you set up the analogies, the onboarding, the troubleshooting, the upstream strategy we talked about today, your product just gets so much better and wins keep stacking up. If your clients are not winning, maybe you are the problem. And when you see it as I am the problem, I just feel like it puts you in a better mindset to fix it.
Your fault.
Your fault.
Your fault.
Good. Job on willing it. Yeah, it's always your fault.
This is good. This episode got increasingly more tactical as what is like. I feel like the average revenue of the person who was listening at the end is probably higher. It was increasing.
Yeah, which
towards the end.
Yeah, so if you're listening to it right now, you're probably making 10 to 30K.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if you didn't follow through, it's like, yeah, you're not making 10 to 30. Yeah, I wanna end with one, which was and I'm gonna let you go on at the end if you want to, but one thing that is really useful is people sometimes just need a reason why to act. E-com stores do this very well. Hey, it's the Easter sale. It's the Christmas sale. It's the 4th of July sale. It's a Black Friday sale. There's no reason why you can't pull that off too. Not a sale, but an event hand raiser. So what is this? If there's an event that's meaningful to your company, or even at the end of every month, you can do a hand raiser. A hand raiser is the simplest poster is. I'm looking for 10 people, 5 people, 3 people who want to accomplish a certain goal and want to remove these key points and accomplish this dream outcome. If this is you, send me the DM August, right? Because tomorrow's August. Or like, send me August and let's chat. By having those event hand raisers tactically during the year, maybe every quarter, you can have it every month, you can have it at the middle of the year, at the end of the year. Those hand raisers, they may not look like much. This is why they take their goals more seriously on January 1st than on July 17th. Because you give them a reason why. And these event hand raisers, if you can set them maybe every quarter, every month, middle of the year, and the end of the year, I feel like it can really drive your revenue up because some people just need that little push to say, fine, I'll work with you.
Well, here's a perfect way to end it. An analogy that maybe you can use if you need to force someone to do a hand raiser because they might think it's low authority. That's actually how the chocolate business runs their entire business. It's through seasonality. I was listening to, I think it was My First Millions with read Mr. Beast Manager. He hates, you're not supposed to say Mr. Beast Manager, but sorry. And he was talking about Feastables and the chocolate business and Hershey and how Hershey makes its money. And the chocolate business is extremely seasonal. You get huge surges in chocolate sales on the different holidays, the same way that you would have a hand raise. So they need a reason to buy. So with chocolate, right, you have the Christmas trees, and then you have the Valentine's Day chocolates, and then you have the St. Patrick's Day chocolates, and then you have the Easter eggs, like the Reese's eggs. Those are the best ones, right? Then you have 4th of July, and you have October, Halloween, another big surge. And you know what I mean? So it's the same. That's actually how the chocolate business makes its money, is on the seasonality and the holidays. Same thing with the coaching business. You could have your hand raisers just have reasons to, you can find many reasons to do your hand raisers, right? It's 4th of July. Like, do you want to spend more time with your family? Come to my coaching program, right? It's Christmas. You want to have more money to spoil your kids? Raise, you know what I mean? You don't have to do that, but it's the same thing. So if you ever need an analogy, Hershey's $1 billion company runs their business on event hand raisers.
That was good. I like that. I think we should end it here. I think that was a good note.
That was good. Exactly 1 hour too.
All right, cool. Well, thank you all for coming. Subscribe for more, and we'll see you in the next one.
Cheers.
Adios.